Hello, I'm Lynda Kinked. Welcome to our continuing coverage of the crash of EgyptAir Flight 804. CNN Newsroom starts right now. We begin with a major new clue in the crash of EgyptAir Flight 804. This image we're about to show you reveals sensor readings from different parts of the plane. The data shows smoke alarms were going off on board before it crashed. Investigators say the top priority now is finding the plane's flight data recorders. So far, Egypt's military says the recovery operation has turned up pieces of the plane, some personal belongings, and human remains. Well, the disappearance of EgyptAir Flight 804 is also shining a light on airport security, especially at France's largest international airport, Charles de Gaulle. Earlier, former CIA director and national security expert James Woolsey spoke with CNN's Victor Blackwell. Take a listen.
Do you have any concerns? Would you fly your family to and from Charles de Gaulle?
I think I'd think twice about it, and especially during the forthcoming soccer championships, I think I'd be worried about it. I might still decide to do it. I just got back from flying to Europe not long ago. But it's something that people should start thinking about.
Well, with more on those concerns at the Charles de Gaulle airport, I want to bring in CNN's Jim Bitterman, who joins us now from that airport. Jim, what did you make of those comments from the former CIA director?
Well, tens of thousands of people today rejected his advice and flew through Charles de Gaulle. So I just don't see it happening. There's no proof at all, so far at least, that this plane was brought down by anything that happened here at Charles de Gaulle Airport. So it really is kind of, I think, kind of irresponsible to make that kind of blanket charge. You know, there were people that got on board a plane in Boston and ran into the Twin Towers on 9/11. So I think there are problems with security at airports around the world. And to single out Charles de Gaulle and especially when there's been absolutely no proof of this, seems a little bit irresponsible from my point of view.
Right, and just tell us about the security situation there right now. How is it being stepped up?
Well, in fact, they've put on extra security intelligence agents since it was announced that the EgyptAir plane went down, and they've been reviewing the records of all the people who were involved in handling that airplane, from baggage handlers to food handlers to the security folks and everyone that might have been involved that could have done something suspicious. They're looking at the tapes, the video that was recorded from the cameras around the loading of that plane. Basically, that's something that began within hours after it was announced that the plane went down. Even before it's known what brought down EgyptAir 804, security questions have been raised about its last point of departure, Paris's busy Charles de Gaulle Airport. The plane was on the ground here just over an hour, but in that time, could someone have placed a bomb aboard, perhaps hidden in baggage or a food service cart? Or could a terrorist have managed to board with other passengers? Questions that have been raised in part because of last year's bloody terrorist attacks in France. In their aftermath, Interior Ministry officials revealed that 85 security badges, which are needed to access secure areas of the airport, were revoked last year because the badge holders allegedly showed signs of radicalization. What's more, after the attacks, airport authorities carried out a new security sweep of employees, again looking for anyone who might pose a threat. But 86,000 people work at the airport, and screening for signs of radicalism is a daunting task. Nonetheless, in the wake of the EgyptAir crash, without knowing the cause, officials ordered a thorough investigation of anyone who might have come in contact with the plane, and a review of video footage which might reveal untoward activity.
This is not only a necessity, but a principle of precautionary measures. This is not a judgment nor an assumption there was a failure, but it's a way to continue, as we always have done, to make sure our citizens are safe.
In fact, French officials from the president on down have been trying to reassure everyone in the traveling public that security is their highest concern. Since the EgyptAir crash, it's been announced that 30 new intelligence officers will be added to the 5,700 security personnel already working at the airport.
The government strengthened all its measures following the January attacks. Everything is being done to reinforce everywhere.
But the French foreign minister has also said there's no such thing as zero risk. The EgyptAir crash has put the spotlight on security here at a very awkward time. In the next 2 months, the country will host the French Open tennis tournament, the European Soccer Championships, and the Tour de France bicycle race. Events which will attract millions of people, many of whom will travel through the same airport as the Egypt airplane did. If there's no cause established for its crash, which dispels doubts about security, the impact on those events could be devastating. And I just would add, Lynda, that in fact the French are very much aware of the image problem that's created by the kind of comments that we heard just going into that story. So they're taking all the steps they can to reassure the public, and there are steps on the ground that mean something in terms of the security here at the airport. Lynda?
Okay, great to have you with us. Jim Bitterman live from Paris. Thank you. Well, CNN international diplomatic editor Nick Robertson is tracking the search for the wreckage from the Greek island of Crete and joins us now. Nick, some debris has been recovered. The fact that a life vest was unwrapped, what could that suggest?
Well, there's a possibility, and it's only the possibility, Lynda. We just don't have enough information. But we know that the ACARs, that information about the smoke alarm, those alarms went off over a period of about 3 minutes. So there's a potential for the aircraft to be potentially intact in motion with problems for 3 minutes. So normally life jackets are wrapped up and they're kept under seats. Is it therefore possible, because this life jacket was recovered from the sea, deployed, open, is it possible therefore that the crew on board had told the passengers, we have an emergency, get out your life vest? It opens that possibility, but absolutely there's a lot of things can happen on impact with water, a lot of things can happen to those wrapped life vests. So this is not conclusive. But some of the conclusive, if you like, inferences that we can take away from this debris is that it's relatively small. Today it is windy. Right now I'm down at the water's edge here. The recovery operation is about 100 miles out to sea. It is windier today. The seas are far rougher than they were yesterday. They were relatively flat. The waves are up. There are white tops out there. So it is going to be much, much harder, whether by air. The Greek authorities have had two C-130 military cargo aircraft in the air operating. They're on standby today. So the visibility is down. The visibility, we can't see. There's an island just out there. The visibility on the water is down because the waves are so choppy. It'll be hard to see those small amounts of debris. So what we can learn from this debris is the difficulty it's going to be with the waves up and the conditions that exist today to find more of it. It is understood, we understand from Greek officials, that the debris field itself they're looking at is perhaps over 40, as a radius of a circle, about 40 miles radius. That's about 5,000 square miles, Lynda.
Okay, Nick Robertson live for us, covering the search for the wreckage. Thank you very much. Well, still to come, passengers who boarded EgyptAir Flight 804 were headed towards their children, their parents, perhaps even new lives. We'll hear from their families who are now overwhelmed by grief.